ECHOPLEX. I waited an hour and a half. Most people can't do 15 minutes of them. They're not kidding. I don't even know why they have a radio station.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live almost every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/EchoPlex Media. Support this project at eplex.store or patreon.com/EchoPlex. You can make your own decisions once you get to those places. Otherwise, go to the website, echoplexmedia.com. Click the support link at the top, and there are other options there. Or you can tell a friend about the show. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Blue Sky at Plex-Dave, dancing on the grave of Doug LaMalfa.
And this is the Councilman. You can find me on the Blue Sky at PJ Allen 2. That's TWO. And you can also find me up in public comment at your local city council meeting, especially next Tuesday night, where I will be, instead of, unfortunately, on this show, my sister-in-law is going to be sworn in as the mayor of the small burg of Mountain View here in the Bay Area. So I'm going to be live.
Oh, how cool is that?
House. Yeah, so I now have someone I can lobby for better shops on Castro and less Caltrain traffic along Central Expressway and all manner of good things. So we're very excited about that. Bad Baby's really geeked up to see her Tita get sworn in. So we're going to be doing that next week. So I will leave Downballot and public comment in the capable hands of producer Dave. But really excited to be here this week. And welcome to 2026, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, except to all the folks of, Chinese and Asian persuasions, and then, of course, the Jews.
Well, I mean, I don't remember their New Year, but it's okay. If one of them says Happy New Year to me, I will just say Happy New Year right the fuck back to them, assume that they know what they're talking about. Right.
Well, we're going off the Gregorian/Christian calendar, but of course, our Jewish friends celebrate Rosh Hashanah, and then, of course, the Lunar New Year will be coming up towards the end of this month / beginning of February.
Oh, we'll for our witchy friends.
Correct. Yeah, Gung Hao Fa Choi for all of them. So we'll be celebrating that very, very soon. But I'm even confused. I think Rosh Hashanah comes in September, I want to say. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll cover all the high holy days on another episode of Downballot.
Oh, man. So another thing we're going to be celebrating is that all the tech ghouls, including David Sachs, are threatening to leave California, specifically San Francisco, because of a new billionaire tax that is being proposed or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, we're going to find out the good news from our friends, I believe, at is it KTVU? No, ABC. Sorry, local ABC is going to bring you the story, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
We are calling on California's approximately 200 billionaires to step up.
State labor groups are calling for a one-time 5% emergency tax on several of California's wealthiest residents. Many of those billionaires are heads of companies.
Why did they show the Yahoo building?
I know. I figured that those millionaires are probably offended by the tax that's coming down the pike.
In Silicon Valley and San Francisco. If the proposal gets enough signatures, it will appear on the statewide ballot in November. SEIU United Healthcare Workers West Labor Union says the tax would help close the gap on federal healthcare cuts.
Right now, a massive $100 billion federal cut is going to hit California's healthcare system when we roll into 2026.
Supporters say the emergency billionaire tax will prevent a statewide healthcare collapse.
This would keep ERs open, keep healthcare workers serving patients.
Congressman Ro Khanna represents much of Silicon Valley. He supports the proposal. Governor Gavin Newsom says he opposes the wealth tax proposal. At the New York Times Dealbrook conference this month, he said California has to be pragmatic.
It's not something to be panicked about, but it's part of the broader concern and narrative that's developed in this country of the haves and have-nots, not just income inequality, but wealth inequality.
Several tech billionaires have hinted they may leave the Golden State now.
Good, get the fuck out, Peter Thiel.
In case the proposed wealth tax goes through. It would retroactively apply to anyone living here on January 1st.
We've heard big names like Peter Thiel and others that are threatening to leave.
White House advisor David Sachs, who is also a tech billionaire investor from San Francisco, posted on X, quote, "After blindly funding the left for years, Silicon Valley is finally realizing what time it is. Dinner time."
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
San Francisco State labor professor John Logan believes if it happens, only a small number of billionaires would leave.
Most tech billionaires who can easily afford to pay this 5% one-off tax are not going to upend their lives, move to Austin, Texas.
In San Francisco, Suzanne Fawn, ABC 7 News.
So that's pretty surprising that Gavin Newsom is against it. Why? What the fuck do you think he believes them that they're going to leave, or do you think that he's just doesn't want to piss off the billionaires?
Yeah, no, he needs their dollar bills to fund his presidential campaign in 2 years. So he's trying his best to curry favor with the tech billionaire class because he needs their support, or at least he thinks he needs their support to win his little election. So he's trying to curry favor with them, whereas Ro Khanna, who we'll talk about later, is a potential, I guess, presidential candidate, has not shown any fear about standing up to that class, even though he comes from that space himself too, and has a lot of friends in that space as well. But I think, Gavin, this is very much a political play, and not wanting to piss off folks that might be dropping serious dollars in presidential races in the future. And trying to curry favor with the same kind of folks that, like David Sachs, who are supportive of our current president and maybe come from a little bit more of a right of center space, because I think Gavin realizes he's not going to be the most progressive candidate in the race, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely not.
So he's, especially given the momentum we're seeing behind the likes of AOC and people like Ro Khanna. So he's trying to, I think he's doing a bit of triangulation here. And it's interesting to me because he was so gung-ho about confronting Trump on the redistricting issue, right, and saying we need to fight fire with fire, but he obviously has his limits, just like his hair has its limits for how coiffed it can get. It's just where he's coming from. He also has a nice little spray tan going on there too, so maybe he's appealing to the Trump base with that.
I didn't notice, but yeah, it could be that also. Like, I fucking really need a new display. The display in front of me, the color on it not so great. So.
Well, I honestly don't know. I don't know if this display I'm rocking maybe made him a little more orange than usual. So, but it seemed that way, and maybe it could have just been the video in that one clip. But I think this is very much a political play on his part. Like you said, Peter Thiel, sayonara. Like, that's
what I'm saying is, like,
please get the fuck out.
If as part of, like, so let's say this gets on the ballot. As part of their attempt to stifle this, they start putting Peter Thiel on people's local news channels. That's just going to make everybody vote for this.
Right. I mean, and by the way, like, if even one billionaire stayed in California, 5% of $1 billion, I think, is like $5 million, right? Or $50 million, which is a significant chunk of change. So, I'm not terribly worried about Peter Thiel and the likes of David Sachs upending their lives and their really complicated lives and moving to Austin or more likely taking out a new residence in another state, right? And just ceasing to live here.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, like, what's to stop Peter Thiel from just living in a hotel?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, more than likely, that's how they shield themselves from taxes anyway, right? Like they start their corporations in Delaware, right, or somewhere like that where there's no serious business taxes anyway.
So that's not actually because I owned a corporation for a while. You're still paying taxes in California. There's some tax advantages, but I think a lot of the reason, I don't want to spend too much time on this. A lot of reason that people do that is that Nevada and Delaware specifically, your paperwork goes through just fucking lickety split, like. There's not a lot, like, on your, like, corporate charter, your articles of incorporation, any associated paperwork, anything you have to do specifically for the corporation, it goes through much quicker. And if your corporation's registered in California, when you do all that stuff, they do assess a pretty substantial fee based on the revenue of your business, but it's not necessarily taxation. Because if you're doing business or your corporate headquarters is in California, you're paying the same taxes as whether or not you're incorporated in California technically.
Yeah, I don't know how the tax structure works, frankly, but yeah, there's certainly taxes and fees for doing business in any state. Sales tax especially applies.
That's another show for another time.
Yes.
The other person they should put on TV for this is just put David Sachs in front of, like, regular ass people. These people are ghouls. Like, these people are absolute fucking ghouls. Put Mark Zuckerberg out there doing his best Ali G impression, I guess, that he's doing right now. People will be like, yeah, we should take some money from this guy. Like, right.
Or Elon, you just, take your pick right now. Right. You all want to get out, then by all means,
I think
get
Elon
out.
doesn't live here anymore. I think he lives in Texas.
I thought he still lived in South Africa. I didn't realize I don't know where he lives, but and Mark Zuckerberg can take his little Palo Alto compound and go build it in Charlotte, North Carolina, or somewhere else, where things are more
Zuckerberg is never leaving Palo Alto. He's trying to buy Palo Alto.
It seems like it. That's what we had on Downballot not too long ago. It seems like that he's trying to buy up all of Palo Alto and turn it into his little playground. I double dog dare all of you assholes to upend and move out. And if Peter Thiel wants to get out of California, good riddance, and maybe he can take California forever with him, just to avoid the embarrassment.
I'm sure he has something to do with that, but he's been pretty quiet about California forever. Yeah. Also, like, if they all leave, who the fuck's going to pay for California forever?
Right. And who's going to live there?
California never.
who's gonna have their plantation there? None of them. So good riddance. I'm really
You're gonna be
anxious
able to have
see
an
this.
antebellum wedding in on a brand new plantation in fucking just north of Silicon Valley.
Let's not go down the road of the Bachelorette, shall we? But seriously speaking, though, I'm curious to see if this gets on the ballot. If the unions have the wherewithal to get the signatures, they probably do, to get it on the ballot. I think it would be appealing across the board in a very popular sense.
You could probably get a quarter of the signatures for that in just fucking Alameda County.
Sure, at Walmart, in Alameda County for sure. So we'll see if it gets on. I would love to see this be more, and it's been proposed by several state lawmakers in the past, but I would rather see this be more of a permanent tax increase. And it could be a little more nuanced, right, in terms of some sort of sliding scale, whatever you want to call it, for the tens of millionaires, paying a little bit too, and the wealth tax. It's gotten some traction in the legislature before, but nowhere near enough to get on the ballot.
A way to do this would be to levy First of all, I'm a big fan of luxury tax.
Yeah.
I think sales tax is bad, but I think luxury tax is good, right? I think if you go buy a fucking Bentley, you got 180 to spend on a car, great. You got 20 to fund the fucking schools, right?
Makes sense to me. So figuring out a way to make more of a permanent wealth or luxury tax would be, I think, preferable to having framing it as an emergency tax.
I wouldn't do like a one-off. Maybe not every year, but every 5 or something. I don't know.
Sure, or just or amortizing it, spreading it out a little more, or whatever you want to call it.
Or every year, but the rate is low, just 1% every year if your net worth is over $100 million or something. Come on.
Sure, I don't see that as being an anathema to voters who are going to want to support this anyway, right? I think that the type of voter would support something like this would support a long-term permanent tax, right? And the emergency aspect of it, I don't think is even necessary. I think that framing and the use in Santa Clara County when it came to the Measure A sales tax, right, that was implemented to help stave off these
that's
big
different,
federal
though,
cuts.
Right? That's a sales tax, and that hits
correct,
the poor.
Yeah.
That
correct.
Hits the poor hardest.
Exactly why they had to frame it as an emergency, temporary 5-year tax, right?
Emergency, we're taking your pocket change, Peter Thiel.
Right. Whereas with this, it's like I don't see it as being a problematic to passing on the ballot to make it permanent or long term, as opposed to being an quote unquote an emergency tax. Because who are you pissing off with that? Really, it's just the billionaires that it would apply to, right? It's a classic tax where most of us aren't going to be paying it, so why not say yes and get more funding for services, even if you don't use those services, even if with a sales tax, even if you're not going to be paying the sales tax, right? I don't see how it makes any difference. It might make it even more palatable to some folks to make it permanent, to make it long term, and make it lasting. But I trust that SEIU, United Healthcare Workers, and those unions who spend a lot of money on these elections, they have done their polling and research and probably have an idea of what can pass.
I bet this polls 35-40% among Republicans.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't see that. I could see this having broad bipartisan appeal. So again, I say go for broke. Why fuck around? If you're going to go for something like this, if you're going to spend all that money to gather signatures, and it costs tens of millions of dollars to gather the signatures you need statewide to get something on the ballot, why not go for it? Just go for everything. Go for the jugular and tell them they can go fuck themselves if they can. Peter Thiel can sue in court or whatever he wants to do. But there's if the vote, I think the voters will support it. I don't think that they would have a problem with it.
Not for nothing. Maybe there's maybe people that don't that are maybe dispositionally against it or whatever. I would just bring up the point that old video games, right? If you were collecting coins or tokens or whatever, they literally didn't have enough space for more than 4 characters. So if once you got to 9,999, the fucking shit just fell out. You couldn't collect anymore. And so I would really like our system to have some sort of function like that, right? Where, sorry, your cup is full and you can't just stand in the bathtub to catch what's fucking falling out.
Speaking of which, I love the visual in that clip of the old school calculator, right? And the dollar bills flipping, right? Just very, 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 very old school, very, very basic, but also very telling about how we still view things and how folks view things these days.
And not for nothing, the richest of the rich and the most influential of the most influential are going to find ways to hide their money, keep their money outside of California.
Always. They'll figure out a way to pay the tax and have their cake and eat it too. And maybe they'll even be like all magnanimous and say, I'm happy to pay a tax like this to fund services, right? I'm happy to pay my fair share all the while.
Say what you want about the robber barons, but at least they built museums and shit. What the fuck, man?
Right. Where are the fucking Carnegies? Where are the Mellons? Where are the...
Well, I mean, those people just did that shit so that fucking the guillotine didn't come for them. It was a little bit different time. Sure. They were coming right out of the Great Depression and shit, dude. Like,
sure.
People were pissed.
Even go back to like the Medicis, right? In Italy, like the rich class, funding great works of art, right? Like we wouldn't have the Sistine Chapel, we wouldn't have all the Renaissance if it weren't for rich people. But
what if instead of that you just buy like 3 city blocks in Palo Alto?
Oh yeah, that would be much more preferable, right? And creating a little
not that you would like give anything to anybody with you just so that nobody can see into your backyard.
Right, hiring private security and a private police force to keep it safe too.
And we're going to be here all night. We got to move on.
Hey, all good. Peter Thiel, good luck to you, sir. I hope you enjoy your stay in Florida, sunny Florida, or hot Texas, or wherever you decide to move on to.
Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. So moving on to winners and losers, where typically there are no winners unless it's the people you weren't rooting for. Mayor Ed 210 up in San Francisco. This is something we've covered in the past. Apparently signed off on something that seems like a winner, but a reparations fund for the city's black residents. And we're going to learn more about that from KTVU.
New at 10, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie facing both praise and pushback after signing a measure to create a reparations fund for the city's black residents. Notably, the fund does not include any taxpayer money for direct payouts. KTVU's Betty Yu joins us live at City Hall to explain tonight. Betty, what do you know?
He's like, we just stole a bunch of money from David Sachs and we're going to give it to black people.
My friends are donating all this money.
Well, Greg, supporters of this fund say that it's meant to repair harm experienced by San Francisco's black residents, and critics argue it's entirely unnecessary and also raises huge legal concerns. Mayor Daniel Lurie signed an ordinance establishing a reparations fund for black residents who can show they experienced a proven harm in San Francisco.
This is an ordinance to amend the administrative code to establish the reparations fund.
The Board of Supervisors passed the measure unanimously before Lurie quietly signed it into law last week without a press release or social media announcement. In a statement, the mayor said in part, "We are not allocating money to this fund. With a historic $1 billion budget deficit, we are going to spend our money on making the city safer and cleaner."
I would argue that the city is accountable for not just investing in this fund, but for supporting in all the ways possible the recommendations of our plan, including financial repair. It is a step in the right direction.
Eric McDonald previously chaired the African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which spent 3 years researching and developing the city's plan to address historical harms against black residents. The committee released a more than 400-page report in 2023 with more than 100 recommendations, including a proposal for a one-time lump sum payment of $5 million to each eligible person.
I'm making this up, but if I can demonstrate that in 1972, the property that my family owned was taken by eminent domain, and I am therefore due repair for that, then I'd be eligible.
Mayor Lurie says the fund is open to private donations, and if that money becomes available, the city will ensure it gets to those who qualify.
When I learned that he signed this, it was just disillusionment, disappointment.
Conservative columnist and political commentator Richie Greenberg fears that
and white men
costly new layer of bureaucracy and invite legal challenges.
Even though it is true that there are different areas around the city that have been over the decades perpetrated injustices, this does not mean that the individual taxpayers 20, 30, 40, 50 years on should be held responsible for this.
Did you not read the motherfucking thing, you dumbass? There's no money in there. There's no money here.
Yeah, and it's not like holding us responsible. It's holding the system responsible for the systemic disinvestment and wealth crushing policies that have perpetuated the inequality we see today. So it's not, as a white man, and taxpayer, I'm all for reparations. I'm completely understanding of and accepting of my privilege, and I think that we should be making these reparations. But yeah, like this is like a much ado about nothing if you're complaining about it, because the guy already admitted there's no money in this, and it's all going to come from private donations anyway. So it's pretty much just a empty suit kind of a policy.
And the former chair of that advisory committee says that members are still continuing to meet to think about ways that they can secure resources and funding and hold the city accountable for implementing these broader recommendations. Greg?
Betty, I know it's early, but any idea how many families in the city might be eligible for this?
Well, the former chair says that he estimates there are about 25,000 to 30,000 families that could potentially benefit.
Yeah, a lot of families here. Betty, you live in the city for us tonight. Betty, thank you.
Yeah, like the dude that was like, oh, a taxpayer money, and Daniel Lurie is like, we ain't got the taxpayer money for this, which he's right. They don't. They do have $1 billion budget deficit, and like this is I think this is a fairly important thing. But with $1 billion budget deficit, this is one of those things where even the most progressive mayor would have to kick the can on taxpayer funding for this, I think.
I'd say especially in the near term, it's just not there, right? There's no there. So, therefore it's not surprising that he didn't take a social media victory lap, didn't make a huge deal out of this. Although he did issue a statement, it did happen, right? So he's able to put himself out there, say, I'm a friend of the black community. Please vote for me, right? But without having to anger. Any sort of squishy white folks who
like his constituency.
His constituents, right? Although, and of course, as you would expect, even those folks find a way to complain about it, right? Like white men always will find a way to complain about some shit, no matter what you do to help anyone who's not a white man.
That's true. Well, I don't complain about that all the time. I just complain about everything.
That's true. But you do come from a marginalized community as well. Whereas I'm not sure being in high school, graduating high school in 1995 in Fremont as a good looking white gay guy really marginalized me too terribly much. I would suggest to you that it offered me opportunity. Right, and no one could tell just from looking at you that you're a gay guy too. So you project white.
Oh, so I found this clip. I found a gay phrenology clip. It's like it had the little lines on people's faces and telling you whether or not they're gay and shit. Those lines where people are fucking sitting and the power pose where you got the red and the green lines. I found one of those about gay people's faces. So. This crazy person on YouTube who probably also believes in measuring your skull to see how smart you are would probably disagree with you.
I had no idea. You could just tell just from looking at someone. But but as like I said, white people were always going to find a way to complain about something, even when it's the right thing to do. So, hey, hopefully, maybe Peter Thiel, instead of contributing to the wealth tax, maybe he wants to contribute to the the reparations fund. I doubt it.
He's the most racist South African motherfucker in the world. He's like, all right, listen, I'm going to break off the blacks $10 million, and I'm going to get out of here.
But frankly, that's the kind of tax that it might take to fund something like this, right? To put some sort of wealth tax in place, or and hope that and maybe private industry as well. But
you could do it on the other end too, right? Like at least for people who own their home, you could do the other thing and cut their property tax in half or something. I don't know. You'd have to deal with the state on all that, but there's other ways to do it too. Where instead of doling out a check, you could just not charge for certain things. But this is all fucking who knows.
Yeah, I haven't read the report either from the committee, and there were obviously more than 100 recommendations. So I'm sure that there were some good ideas in there. But this seems pretty performative by Mayor Lurie at this point, since there's no real teeth behind it, and it's just a nice way to curry favor with a voting base. That probably wasn't all that supportive of him to begin with. Especially considering he ran against a black woman. So, you have to be seen. We'll see what happens. We'll obviously follow this, but we're not expecting miracles anytime soon. And you can consider a step in the right direction. So there's really no winners and losers here yet. We'll see who comes out in the wash.
All right, well, we're going to move on. I guess we do have a winner this week. Crime as in almost every major city, crime is trending downward in the city of Oakland, which fucking more than a few people that I used to know in San Jose think is fucking Sarajevo during the war.
Well, they're the
Afraid
losers
to drive
in this
down
story.
the streets and shit here.
Right. Well, they're the losers in this story, and we're going to find out more about the safety of your new Berg from Fox 2, KTVU.
As 2025 draws to a close, the city of Oakland's crime data appears to show a big decrease across all categories compared to last year. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama joins us with a look at the preliminary report and reaction from the community. Jana.
Claudine, the Oakland Police Department's latest crime report does not include these last few days of the year, but overall the numbers so far show a step in the right direction. And people say that it is a result of many factors, from more high-tech police tools to changes in policies. In Oakland's Grand Lake shopping district, some residents and store owners are feeling safer and hopeful.
I would say that over the last few years, I do feel like, especially this year, the last half of the year, that things are starting to quiet down a bit.
Crime statistics from the latest Oakland Police Department report through Sunday, December 28th, shows a drop in crimes across all categories compared to previous years. According to preliminary data, murders are down 32% from the 3-year average. Aggravated assaults are down 11%. And armed robberies, including carjackings, are down 40%.
Crime is trending down in the right direction, not only in our city, but across the regions.
The union president for the Oakland Police Officers Association says the decrease comes despite the lowest staffing levels he's seen in his 30 years on the force.
It's as if maybe the police don't prevent crime.
He said,
imagine that.
Technology.
Flox camera to our shot spotters allow us to utilize those technologies and respond to crime and resources in a very I would say, in a smart manner.
Other factors some say are making a difference include the deployment of extra CHP patrols in the city and the return of the ceasefire program, as well as policy changes by a new city council.
The pursuit policy, Gavin Newsom came down. We changed that 50 miles an hour. Now they can chase them, right? Then we got the encampment abatement policy. Those policies are going to change public safety.
Preliminary statistics also show a decrease in nonviolent crimes, with auto, residential, and commercial burglaries dropping 32% compared to the 3-year average. This store owner on Grand Avenue says she notices a difference.
It changed before in the parking on the front, they break the window and like something, but this year it kind of nobody do.
Vehicle thefts are also down 41%. Oakland police note the data has not been finalized and does not include the last 3 days of 2025. And the union says there could be underreporting due to long wait times and fear by immigrants of being targeted by ICE if they report crimes, even though police say they do not work with ICE. Police also say a message across the city that crime won't be tolerated is making a difference.
If we can allow people to feel safe in the city again, that's critical, right? Everything will thrive. The community will thrive. Businesses will thrive again.
And one note, other crimes including rape, arson, and larceny, which includes theft such as pickpocketing and shoplifting, are also lower so far this year. The city's just hoping to keep moving in the direction in 2026. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jana.
I feel like these things are just going to kind of ebb and flow. And I mean, did you see that murder number? It was like 57 or something.
Yeah, that's pretty significant for Oakland. Although I think they've had 5 homicides already in 2026 from another.
Oh shit! It's fucking Sarajevo again.
Yeah, right.
War zone.
The real question is, do you feel safer, producer Dave, in Oakland?
I live in the Laurel. It's like, I don't know. I don't. Like I live in like a neighborhoody place, like, so I don't know if it's, I just got lucky basically geographically here. I'd have to ask friends who live in like West Oakland, or funny enough, over by Jack London, like if they think that things have like chilled out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I know that there was unfortunately a murder right in front of my friend's bar around the corner in 2025. And when we went, it was they're the ones that owned Bricks that we were working at. And homeboy was pretty shook the next day when my show was. He was like, man, I'm sorry, I don't really want to have any conversations or anything. He's like, I'll take care of the door. Good luck with your show. And then I found out why later. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, man, it wasn't one of our patrons, but still, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, that number going down, I mean, it went down more than half. I mean, it was less than half from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So-
all the numbers seem to have significant dips, which is good signs. But I agree with you. It's an ebb and flow, but it never a bad thing for it to be dipping. And over time, I think the ebb probably is greater than the flow, right? Or the dip is probably greater than the rise over time. And like you said, the POA president there was pointing to new technologies and other things that are helping police, quote unquote, helping police do their jobs better. But I think it just only proves that
I don't think the surveillance
more boots-
state is preventing any murders.
No, and I think I don't think that adding more boots on the ground, quote unquote, is going to solve anything either. And I don't know that the CHP is really helping matters either, except with their lovely mustaches. That just I wouldn't want to have to get anywhere near that mustache. It's a little dirty.
And they mentioned like the homeless abatement and stuff, and we've talked about this a lot. Like your unhoused neighbors or whatever don't commit crime at a higher rate than your housed neighbors, and many studies show that the rate is actually lower. Because I think being unhoused, you don't think you can really get away with shit, probably.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more eyes on you, and that, by the way, that was Councilmember Houston. You'll recall Councilmember Houston.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He's like, I don't know, he's cool. He's cool.
He tells it like it is. Tells it like it is.
He's cool. I want to go meet him. I found out he's not my representative. I'd have to live a little bit north of here.
But do you know who your council member is?
I fucking forget.
Hey, don't worry, you're just about like 99% of people in America.
I'm sure they're doing a great job, and I'll just vote for them to keep their seat when fucking time comes.
If it's Noel Gallo, I mean, he just knows how to find a camera, so he's on TV a lot. So, but
we might have a new Peskin. We might have a new Peskin.
Yeah, very much so. So the Latino Peskin. Anyway, well, we'll obviously be tracking this and always tracking the doom loop narrative and all the efforts that Barbara Lee and others are making to
crime
make Oakland safer.
That murder number went down. It cut in half, plus a little bit over 2 years. So if it bumps up to 63 or something this year, everybody's gonna be like, crime is out of control.
Crime is out of control, even though it would still be significantly down from 2 years ago, right? So
we call this it's the inability to zoom out on a chart phenomenon.
Right. What have you done for me lately? Everyone's perception is always almost always based on what's happening right now or in the last 5 minutes. So we will play the long game here in Down Ballot, and so we'll continue to bring you these numbers, and we might even do some analysis if folks do start to pop off about crazy spikes in murders and crime rates, when in fact again over time we're seeing ourselves becoming a more peaceful society. So, and I mean, not for nothing, like people are like, oh, this must all be like gangland and drug related shootings. It's like, no, motherfucker, this is a lot. Unfortunate. Like, it's not whatever, like fucking don't kill anybody, don't fucking murder people, but this is a lot of like domestic violence. Yeah, that's actually something we don't hear enough about, frankly, and you don't see in the numbers. I'm really glad you brought that up. Like, domestic violence accounts for quite a bit of the violent crime that we see out there, including rape and murder and assault. It's people. And domestic violence isn't just limited to your partner. I mean, I would suggest that if my neighbor killed me, that would be akin to domestic violence. Sure, even the crazy shooting at Valley Fair, right? It was two bros who knew each other, right, and just had a beef, right? It wasn't gang related. Not being able to get along and not being able to like solve their problems without violence, and it wasn't random. Yeah. And they were like gang related, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. That. Like it's very easy excuse, right? It's a very easy excuse to think of crime as some sort of random occurrence, right? As something that's about about organized crime or gangs and that thing. And really, it really just, a lot of times it's just people hurting people they know. Because I mean, and frankly, who doesn't want to shoot their family members at some point, right? Yeah. Especially around the holidays. Most of us don't. Holidays. I mean, right. Well, maybe that's the important thing about noting that it doesn't include the data doesn't include the last 3 days of the year during the holidays. Maybe that's like the high point, the spike of domestic violence when we just are so fucking tired of our families. We're learning from chat that the federal crime, like if your roommate kills you, that's not considered domestic violence. Well, that's just ridiculous. But true. So that gets tossed in. So that like skews the numbers because that to me, I had a roommate situation that was domestic violence. I wasn't fucking her. My God, thankfully, Jesus Christ.
But it was clearly a domestic violence situation, right?
Right, but you weren't related, and you didn't own a home together, right? Either, so
or we weren't we weren't on the same lease, or just domestic. Right. Just domestic, I would just think means lives in, or I would even say that like your homies' friends that are hanging out whooping your ass is domestic violence.
Sure, or even just know like crime by people against people they know, right? Like it doesn't even have to be like, and living
that's maybe
together,
not
right?
that. Maybe that would go outside of domestic violence, but should be like that's another category, right? That's like I would say maybe community violence or some.
Sure,
but but then you eliminate, you take all those stats out, and then the violence that people really are afraid of is like, oh, there's the gangbangers doing a drive by. Well, you're going to approach 3%, right?
Right. Right, like the random, like there was a shooting the other day where a kid got shot in the head in Antioch of all places, of course, just seemingly completely randomly, as their family was leaving a park, leaving a shopping center, and someone just randomly shot at their car, and that's the kind of stuff that people fear, is the stuff that comes out of nowhere.
And we don't know if that's random. I mean,
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know yet.
And if they thought it was someone else or something like. I don't think people just go shooting at cars, right? Like
I just don't think a lot of crime is randomized, right? I don't think most crime is just happens, right? For no apparent rhyme or reason. I think that quite a bit of crime is premeditated, and quite a bit of it is
violent crime. I think there are. I mean, there is like vandalism and stuff that is unless you like it's swastikas on a fucking synagogue or something. Right. I mean, generally, like vandalism is like opportunity, motive, alcohol, fucking dumb kids, usually dumb boys doing, But yeah, like for violent crime, like the thing people say all the time is like, you want to know who's most likely to kill you? Well, who are you having dinner with tonight?
Right. And most accidents, when it comes to like car accidents, things like that, happen within a mile of your house too. People don't know that either. So I think we don't talk about that enough. So anyway, we got to move on. But speaking of our unhoused neighbors and the crimes that they commit, there's a new state law that's going to help, unfortunately for the people of Fremont, apparently, help folks help the unhoused and reach out to them. But as usual in San Jose, there are folks who aren't really excited about that and helping the unhoused, and we're going to learn more about that from our friends at NBC Bay Area.
There's a new state law that protects volunteers who help the homeless in areas that local authorities say are off limits. The change is causing mixed emotions for some in San Jose communities. NBC Bay Area's Robert.
Oh, I bet I can name those San Jose communities. The Rose Garden, Willow Glen,
Almaden.
Tells us what the people are saying today.
Homeless advocates were here at Tully Park distributing supplies on New Year's Day to
I bet the people over there off Tully Road ain't too mad about it. They're probably okay with it.
Yeah, most likely.
And our report got immediate response from the public and police saying they wonder if the different groups will be able to play ball together. Tully Community Ball Field is the home of Spartan Little League, where about 150 youngsters play. It's also right next to the distribution site homeless advocates often use, including on...
Dude, have the Little League fucking do a fucking food drive, you assholes.
Right.
Have the
I'm
Little
sure they'd
League
be down.
Do have a couple games where it's a food drive. What the fuck?
Hey, kids would be down for it, I'm sure.
To hand out tents, clothing, and food items. League President Hector Navarro is concerned that the new state law that protects the advocates from getting in trouble isn't helping Spartan Little League.
We're not against helping the homeless, but the thing is that...
Go do it somewhere else.
You are. Yes, you are.
But again, Hector Navarro, Spartan Little League president, he could have gone, oh, you know what, we've actually neglected this thing, and what we're doing is we're putting together a couple charity games, and we hope that
this could be a win for him. He could be in the winners and say he's going to be in the losers category in this evening.
We have to deal with a lot of the repercussions of that, and some of the things is like the mess of that they leave behind sometimes. I bet these fucking charity groups that fucking go feed the homeless, they fucking leave that, they campground rules, baby. They probably leave that place better than they found it.
More than likely, either that or they're defecating on everything and leaving their trash out for the bears to get. We see just some people, they're either really mentally ill or they're on drugs, and then they're doing crazy things. They're yelling stuff through the fence to the kids and stuff like that.
What about the parents? Talk about the parents.
Yeah, right. The parents are probably screaming more at the Little League games. Cut off! Hit the cutoff man! What are you doing?
Police also responded to our story and pointed out officers who came out to the distribution site did not cite anyone, but acknowledged they are still working through how best to apply SB 634 in real-world situations, while addressing long-standing concerns and finding better ways to work with organizations trying to help. One of the homeless advocates, Sean Cartwright, who coordinated the New Year's Day distribution.
Dude, we see her all the time on the news.
Oh, she know how to find a camera for sure.
That's good for her. It's her job.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's what she lives for this.
Handing out more supplies at an encampment under an overpass today. She says she plans to continue even in city parks because that's where the homeless are.
Some people don't bother to go to places because they don't know about it. Some people don't bother to go because it's too far to walk. They're disabled, they're a senior. So it's much better to take the goods to the people, take the food to the people, take the shelter to the people.
I talked with some other unhoused advocates who essentially agree with Cartwright's stance. So it appears the new state law will be tested a lot and at a lot of distribution sites in the new year. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
So I'm surprised they didn't have some fucking asshole. Well, I mean, the Little League coach guy, but I mean, he seemed like he wasn't I thought they were going to have some giant asshole from his from his kitchen, sitting in front of like $10,000 worth of china and a china cat telling you about how this is bad for their neighborhood.
Right, it's bringing a criminal element and all these drug abusers and mentally ill people to their neighborhood. Like what? To get food and supplies and help? It's what harm are they causing you by coming to your neighborhood to get help? And why aren't you out there, helping them? Right, to help them not be, to help them with their mental health issues, to help them with their drug addiction issues, to help them with their with getting food and shelter. You could be doing that as opposed to, just complaining and sitting on your porch and wagging your finger, or in the case of the Little League president, going on camera and saying how much this is, bothering the kids. Where are the kids? I want to hear from the kids. Are the kids really disturbed by this? I think, like we mentioned, as a kid playing Little League, I was always more disturbed by, the parents yelling
somebody
at
else's
their kids.
Parent yelling about you, essentially.
Right. Yeah, like why aren't you, why aren't you swinging the bat, kid? I was always more concerned with my performance on the field than what was going on around the field, frankly. And that disturbed me a lot more. And I think you'd find kids these days, especially, are very astute when it comes to issues like this, and they if you ask them, they'd want to help. They'd want to pitch in. They'd want to do a drive like you were suggesting, right? Go and help.
Oh yeah, that fucking Little League coach could have been like the fucking coolest guy in the world. Been like, hey, sometimes this stuff makes me a little uncomfortable personally, but now that this issue's come up and I have the news here and I've kind of thought about it, these are the dates that we have a food drive game. Please come out, even if you don't feel like watching the game. Come drop your food off. And we've made contact with some of these community organizations that are handing out food right next to the ballpark. And
right, big win for the Little League, right? Where's the loss in that, right? You want to get a dub, there's a easy dub right there for you, and then instead you come out looking like the Grinch, on the local TV. So where's the joy in that? And any sort of folks who do care, right, are going to maybe think twice about enrolling their kid in your Little League. If that's the attitude you take, maybe they'll find another Little League or another way for their kids to engage in sports. And sports is supposed to be, by the way, about building teamwork, right, and camaraderie and collaboration, especially baseball. It's a very team-oriented sport. So it's a little disturbing to see that they're not embracing that aspect of it, right? And creating more of an us versus them mentality when that's really not what sports is supposed to be about.
Well, sports is us versus them, but only insofar as you're trying to win the game.
Yeah, it's competition, right? And but it's supposed to teach, respectful competition, sportspersonship, right? And good, at the end of the game, right? Like, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? The other team. Yay, the other team, right? Like that.
You give high fives or whatever, and
yeah, everyone, and then they all have juice boxes, and you go home. So yeah, high five, do the high fives, and then go give juice boxes to your unhoused neighbors, right? And maybe learn a few things about the world in so doing.
So up next, we got another story out of San Jose, and it's about housing. I guess people are mad that there's going to be a 5-story building somewhere, I'm guessing.
Somebody always mad in San Jose, it seems like. We got hella debates this week, so we're going to learn about that from KPIX.
San Jose's skyline is also changing. Neighborhoods mostly made up of 1- and 2-story buildings are now seeing plans for more multi-story apartment complexes.
I called it. That's a fucking 5-story building.
1,000 homes in the next 5 years. And in some cases, developments have been able to bypass some rules to meet those state housing goals. But as Len Ramirez shows us, not everyone's happy about the transformation.
So hold on. No, hold on. They're not bypassing the rules. San Jose didn't meet their goals, and now developers can build taller than they would otherwise have been able to build.
Correct, and San Jose also failed to pass because of community blowback their plans. What happened was San Jose and other cities failed to pass these 8-year plans, the housing element, right, that we've covered on Downballot before.
Oh, Los Gatos famously, they failed to pass it. And now there's some developer trying to put in like a 17-story apartment complex right next to some rich asshole's fucking house. It's so great.
Yeah, correct. So if you didn't pass, if a city didn't pass and didn't get their plan approved by the state as of a deadline, which was like 3 years ago, then it opened up a window for any project that was proposed in the interim to be able to flaunt, or flout local housing, zoning rules.
Right. I mean, within state with already existing state guidelines, right? Like, right. You're not going to be able to put a skyscraper up in Willow Glen. But you could put a 6-story apartment complex there, and whoopsie poopsie.
And that's more than likely what we're going to hear about is that project in Willow Glen that we've covered a little bit before, but we'll learn more about it from KPIX here. Oh, yep, that's the one.
Marin Cedarquist loves the Willow Glen neighborhood. She's lived for years and now serves as president.
She's like, my neighbors are great and I don't want more of them.
Willow Glen Neighborhood Association.
I've lived in Willow Glen for 33 years, raised my kids here. It's just a wonderful community.
But she's afraid of what's coming next to be looming over this stretch of Willow Street at Cotenberg, something entirely new.
Homegirl, that's 5 stories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 stories, and it's fucking gorgeous.
Right. But it's just not appropriate for Willow Glen, Producer Dave. It's going to destroy the character of their neighborhood.
Luxury ass looking apartment complex that I wouldn't even looked at an apartment in. Fuck you.
7-story apartment building just approved by the city, replacing this 1-story liquor store and adjacent fitness studio.
This is going to be...
Oh, you better let the liquor store be in that bottom floor of that building.
Sure, but I also love that the liquor store is doing so much to improve the character of the neighborhood, apparently.
Having something you can walk to go your kids can go get candy or whatever is good for the neighborhood. They don't just sell liquor.
Yeah, true.
Visible even half that height from this spot.
Marin says the building will bring traffic and...
Dude, that fucking house right there is half as tall as that fucking building. What is this lady talking about?
That's only one family, so,
Yeah. To the streets that were never designed for it.
Housing benefits people. Putting 7 stories next to a single family home is not benefiting people. We need housing, but it needs to be done thoughtfully.
The project...
Well, you should have lobbied the fucking city to pass some fucking kind of ordinance, huh?
Approved under California's Builder's Remedy Law, which allows developers to bypass certain zoning and compatibility rules because San Jose failed to submit an approved housing element plan on time. And Willow Glen is far from alone. In East San Jose, neighbors along Alum Rock Avenue are watching 2 6-story buildings rise in what's also been a low-rise neighborhood. The project at Alum Rock and Cedar Lane, which is not a Builder's Remedy project and came through the normal planning process, will bring a mix of market rate and affordable housing. Manny Denna grew up in the neighborhood and is afraid of the changes that are sure to come.
You just can't put 2 massive buildings into a neighborhood like this and be able to support.
Those are not massive buildings.
And again, no parking. It's going to create some havoc.
San Jose, under state law, must build 62,000 housing units over 8 years.
Land use consultant Eric Shanauer says San Jose neighbors will continue to see larger apartment buildings, especially near transit, commercial corridors, and designated urban villages.
The only way to achieve the number of housing units we need is to go high density and taller.
Eric says 6 to 8 stories is a sweet spot that helps projects financially pencil out for builders and provide housing and jobs.
Don't you want your children and your grandchildren to be able to live in our city? And the only way that can happen is if we build...
My kids are going to be well off like me.
More housing.
Still, many residents say the issue isn't housing, it's where and how it's being built.
It's
mostly where.
True that this would not be approved by the planners or city council.
As the housing crisis pushes development deeper into low-slung neighborhoods, residents are confronting a new reality, one where, at least for some projects, the old rules don't apply.
The Alum Rock project is scheduled to be completed next spring. Meantime, Willow Glen neighbors are planning to appeal the approval of that project.
They can't.
Well, technically they can. If you have a lawyer and you're willing to pay enough, you can appeal something. It's not going to go anywhere because legally, and this is coming from someone who's served as the chair of the San Jose City Planning Commission, there are certain, legal guidelines that cities have to follow when they're considering projects. There were plenty of projects that came across the desk when I was on the Planning Commission that I was a little skeptical of, and not because of where they were located or how big they were, but for a variety of reasons. But for very logical legal reasons, there's no way I could have said no to these projects or recommended against them because the council could have voted against them, primarily because they were legally sound, right? Like they were doing everything according to the laws that are in place and the policies that are in place. So if folks have concerns about, the placement of or the type of, housing or other kinds of development that are coming to their neighborhood, the place is not to, the place to argue that and adjudicate that is not on any one individual project. I've stressed this a lot with community groups that get their set their hair on fire over individual projects. The place is like when the general plan is being considered, when the housing element is being considered, right? Like, were you the same people who were bitching about the housing element?
Oh, for sure.
Right. And now you're pissed off because people are able to flout the law because you delayed getting the housing element. Your protest delayed getting the housing element approved in the first place because the city bent over backwards to appease you instead of doing what they needed to do at the time. So, it's really falling on my deaf ears. It's certainly like the world's tiniest violin playing for these folks. And these are my former neighbors. I grew up in Willow Glen. And to be honest with you, and maybe it's because I grew up next door in a single family home next door to it. It was, it seemed out of place probably at the time, but a 2-story commercial building, right? Like right next door to my house, in a parking lot right next door to my house. And maybe I'm a little bit different and I just see things differently, but it's just it's so hilarious to me that the same people that are bitching about this were the same people bitching about previous policies that have created the situation that allows for this, right? And it's like, far be it for them to see that forest for the trees.
It's like, well, there's a couple things here. One, the members of the city council weren't able to just tell people, listen, I have to vote yes on this. Otherwise, we're not going to have any control over this. And then you're going to come back to me or maybe whoever replaces me if you vote me out. And you're going to really not like what's going on here because some developer is going to come in and put in something that we wouldn't have otherwise approved. Like, right. My hands are tied here. I have to vote for this.
Right. Yeah, and it's similar to, the neighbors, they don't want the Chick-fil-A in their neighborhood, right? Because it's going to cause traffic.
It's fine in my neighborhood, but they have to change the name to Chick on Chick-fil-A, and then I forgive everything. I forgive everything.
I can tell if that chicken is gay, to be honest with you. I really can't. But yeah, it's the same, similar. Like, God, what do we need this. We need more dense housing and more of a more mixed use at this site. Well, all you do is bitch and moan and complain when some 6-story, housing or mixed use project is proposed in that corner. So a developer, walks away and doesn't want to deal with all the pain in the ass of getting their project built. And so Chick-fil-A is the only ones willing to throw down the money and develop something on the site. So that's what you get, right? Like the devil is sometimes better than the devil you don't, right? And same with elected officials, right? You can recall the council member who for the district, and because he supported this project because he had to. But the next person is going to be just as obligated, or you can appeal this project, and hey, maybe you get it overturned. The next thing could be just as bad or something worse, right, for your community. So, yeah, I think they get what they deserve, frankly. Folks who try to stand in the way of what's necessary and what's legal, frankly, and progress, and they are causing the majority of the pain we're seeing in places like San Jose, where we're just slow to respond to this crisis. is primarily because of folks who just don't, aren't willing to accept change, aren't willing to accept that they live in a fucking city, right? And that they no longer live in a little burg anymore. Like things change, right? Okay, fine. You've lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. Great. I've lived there. I grew up there. I lived there for 50 fucking years, right? Things change, right? Do I like everything that's happened in Willow Glen since I was born? No. But at the same time, it hasn't destroyed our community. It hasn't. The road diet didn't destroy our community. The 3-story developments on Lincoln Avenue didn't destroy Willow Glen. This project is not going to destroy the character of Willow Glen, nor are the projects on Alum Rock going to destroy the character of that neighborhood. Although I would argue that the East Side tends to get in our BIPOC communities tend to get screwed over when it comes to planning and urban development. But in that case, it's not going to ruin the community. And is there going to be a parking issue? Sure, it's because people need to get out of their fucking cars. That's why we're not. That's why we're not. Parking more of these structures these days, and why the parking regulations have fallen off. It's because we're trying to get people out of their cars and into buses and trains and bikes and more public and walking places, as opposed to driving a block to go to the supermarket. Right? Like, folks just need to wake up to the fact that the world's changing around them, and if they really don't like it, they can move with Peter Thiel to Austin or somewhere else.
And the other thing this reminds me of, and it's this stereotype about men, right? How we don't go to the doctor, we don't go to the doctor, we don't go to the doctor, and then when we go to the doctor, it's because something real bad happened, and we need to go to the doctor because we're fucked. This is the same thing. These people, they won't accept they were probably lobbying against like the city planning, what I forget what it the building plan,
builder's remedy, yeah.
Or they were lobbying against that, and then they're not fixing the problem, and now you got to fix a bigger problem, and that generally means you have to take more drastic measures. That's just
Correct,
the way it is.
It is. We do have to move on, but we'll come back to this. This is certainly an issue we deal with a lot here on Downballot, that hypocrisy, and we love to expose it and to call our neighbors out. I don't want to belabor this too much, but with this state law looming, everybody knew they were just kicking the can. Completely. And it's just going to get worse, right? If we don't meet the goals for the next 8 years, the following 8 years, they're going to need even more housing. It's not like people are going away, right? Like where the demand is still there. And it will persist until we solve this problem. We've got thousands of people on the street who can't afford anywhere to live, and it's not like they can afford to live in this project, but it certainly reduces the strain on the system to have more housing of alt stripes. So they're barking up the wrong tree, and they're going to get what they deserve.
So we're going to do one more San Jose story. Apparently, there's a historic Vietnamese museum, and there's a dispute over who controls the museum. That's strange. A very San Jose story, though, I will say.
Very San Jose Vietnamese community story. We'll learn more about it here.
San Jose's Viet Museum could change hands if dueling groups don't come to a deal. The museum in History Park shut down more than a year ago because of the dispute. San Jose has the largest Vietnamese population of any city outside Vietnam. ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez explains the questions over the museum's future.
There's an ongoing dispute spilling into the new year over who will run the Viet Museum at History Park in San Jose. Its collection includes artifacts from the Vietnam War and refugees who resettled in Northern California.
The horrors of war, the horrors that people go through to find freedom, and not to forget it, but to have a lesson of humanity in it.
Quinn Tran is the president of the nonprofit that oversees the museum. She says there were disagreements among previous museum employees and volunteers about who is in charge. History San Jose, another nonprofit that manages properties within the park, closed the museum at the end of 2024 amid the dispute.
If there are internal dispute or quarrels within the family, quote unquote, then that's our own business. Let us sort that out.
Tran says they were given until December 31st to reach a resolution. City Council member Bien Duan says his office is involved, trying to mediate. He says the deadline means that History San Jose could now possibly request proposals and receive bids on who would like to run the museum.
Either group can bid on it as well, just like anyone else, but we want to make sure it is a Vietnamese group who have the capability to manage appropriately for the Vietnamese museum.
Bien Duan said his office filed an extension, citing the recent death of the previous museum's president and founder, Loc Vu. Duan said he doesn't know how long this extension will last, but that both sides have been asked to once again come to the table with concessions.
Yes, trying to be the mediator. And, this is about our community, the Vietnamese community. And it shouldn't be one group or another. It's about the community as a whole.
Duan said this dispute does not mean the museum will be relocated or shuttered. He wants to make sure it stays exactly where it is. In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
Seems dumb, but I don't know enough about it. Do you know anything about this story?
Only as much as I know that our Vietnamese community in San Jose is very fractured and tends to have a lot of infighting amongst different groups that have very different perspectives on, their history, culture, politics, and it's just a long-standing push and pull. It is. It's very pronounced here, and it impacts a lot of our local politics. Bien Duan is a council member because, frankly, a part of that rift has led to him being a council member into that particular district, which is heavily Vietnamese, having a turnover rate of pretty substantial turnover rate in leadership, simply because it's hard for them to find consensus within the community. But you're right, yeah. Every community has these kind of rifts. It's particularly more pronounced here, and there's a lot of history to it. Ironically, the History Museum. A lot of it's generational push and pull between folks who emigrated at the at the end of the Vietnam War and emigrated to America then, and then their children and future generations who do not necessarily bear the same perspective and history and memories.
Right, I was going to say, just based on the images,
struggle.
it looked like there was going to be a high amount of anti-communist propaganda up in that fucking museum.
Very much so. I mean, it's very much celebratory of, traditional Vietnam, South Vietnam, the struggle against communism. But again, it's unfortunate that the history that needs to be told and can be preserved is shuttered now, simply because, factions within, what is not obviously not a monolith, no culture and no group of people are a monolith, but that they cannot find some sort of consensus agreement. And this goes back to, even beyond this, to the Little Saigon turmoil that ended up getting Madison Wynn, ousted from office eventually, and has led to just a real lack of consistent leadership in this community for a long time. And it doesn't help that elders are passing on, and we're losing institutional wisdom from them and voices that might be able to bring the community together. So I'm hopeful that things will change, but it's just another example that the real losers here are the community and the community in general, not being able to experience this history and understand it and recognize it and learn more from it. Because I don't think that enough people understand, and I certainly don't understand fully, the deep impacts and the deep history of the stories and that would be told by a museum like this. So
I bet there's some drama between these two groups of people that both want to control this museum. There's probably there's
lawsuits. There's
probably like Facebook group comments that are just fucking horrific. Like
there's threads. I mean, if we could speak Vietnamese, I've worked on campaigns within the Vietnamese community too, and just it's pretty significant rifts that occur, but it's hard to determine how it's gotten this far in the first place and how things have gotten this vitriolic in the first place. But it really does impact our community in a massive way. And this is such a significant community here in San Jose that it impacts, I think, our general well-being and culture and quality of life. So I'm hopeful that we'll find ways to move past it. But the problem persists that I think that there's a lack of understanding of the real issues, the underlying issues. And there's a lack of voices in the room that can be like mediating voices or, bringing that historical perspective or more of a broader perspective to play. And perhaps younger generations are going to help to alleviate that and help to bring people together. But it just persists constantly. And it just seems like there's no path out of it, right? And this councilman himself is facing re-election this year, and his two opponents are also from the Vietnamese community and from different factions of that community. So it's just going to another election that will further fracture the community and create more vitriol, more distrust. This space will more than likely continue to be shuttered and closed because the folks who run it, like History Park, just don't want to deal with the drama, right?
Yeah, things must have gotten pretty bad if like the board of directors or whoever for the park in which it's located were like, all right, we just got to shut this museum down so these people don't fucking kill each other or whatever. Yeah, whatever the case may have been. Things probably got pretty fucking nasty. Because you'd think that there would be even if there were people like disputing over like who has what kind of control over the museum or whatever, you'd think there'd be a way to keep the fucking thing open during that.
Sure. Yeah, with that, they're more likely don't want is like hunger strikes and protests out in front of the museum while they're trying to attract people to their park to to experience other aspects of San Jose history. So they more likely don't want to deal with the drama, and that has happened. There have been hunger strikes in front of City Hall over things as simple as what to name the cultural district, the Little Saigon Cultural District. And so they're very deep-seated, and it's understandable. They're very deep-seated emotions. This is people who have left their place of origin and come to America to try to forge a new life, but also trying desperately to hold on to their history, their family history. It's a very, very visceral kind of a battle. So it's difficult to see a way out of it without some voices that are desperately needed to kind of bring people together. And all it seems to happen is the infighting and people trying to tear themselves, tear their community apart. So it's unfortunate, but it's also, like you said, it's not unique to the Vietnamese community. We see it across the board. We see it in not even in the affluent white community.
Yes, in fact, I would suggest to you that the story we did about the housing is largely infighting Willow Glen, like within the white community, within like white people, because Willow Glen's pretty white.
Yes, but also has just as many progressive folks, with the Black Lives Matter signs on their front yard, right? Like so.
Right, but it's not like progressives versus conservatives. It's like progressives versus shit libs, right?
Right. Progressives versus not quite as progressives.
That's like the YIMBY except for right there, people.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. The progressives versus the not quite progressive enough, right? That seems.
I'm not saying there's no Republicans there. I'm just saying that like the rival factions are generally going to be rival factions of like. Maybe not even people who are, terribly ideologically far apart in their overall politics, but it's just like anyway, I don't want to go back to that story. That shit pisses me off hella bad though. It's like, dude, that's just an apartment complex. Shut the fuck up. I've lived in apartment complexes. Stop fucking insulting me. Stop insulting. Like you've lived in an apartment. Like stop insulting the councilman. My parents lived in an apartment before they bought a house. Stop insulting my parents. Shut the fuck up. People live in apartments. Right? Fuck you.
Yeah. Like who didn't? Like what happened before the 33 years you lived in your house in Willow Glen? Like where were you living before that? Yeah, my parents started out in an apartment themselves, and they were lucky enough to buy a home in Willow Glen when it was like a 5-figure contract. Right now it's my mother could sell her little bungalow in Willow Glen for a really substantial sum, but where's she going to move in San Jose? Like there's nowhere to move that she could afford anyway with whatever she get for the house.
My parents are dealing with that too. They're like, we're sitting on X million dollars here, and my mom was like, I'd really like actually to be able to sell this and like give some money to you and some to your sister. She's like, but then where are we going to go? Like, we're just going to go rent an apartment for $4,000? Well, now we can't get that money we were going to give you and your sister. Guess what? It's going to rent.
Right. And so, if you own a home, like, it's also about wealth transition too, right? So, I'm hopeful that, my mother can hold on to the house so that my brothers have a place to live when they, and our kids have a place to be, and can retain some wealth as we're growing older, because none of us are becoming Rockefellers. It's really how a lot of the wealth persists in our world is real estate. So, but that's another down ballot.
We should do maybe one week when it's a slow news week. We should do like a whole housing. We should do a housing thing. Maybe even get a couple housing advocates and stuff on like a real journalistic outlet.
Ooh, that if we could do a journalism, that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, City Council in San Jose is actually going to have what they're calling Housing Day, because there's going to be a lot of
fantastic.
In a couple of weeks. There's a lot of unfortunately, I won't be able to do down ballot that night, but there's going to be we can cover it maybe the next week. But there's going to be a few issues related to housing fees and impact fees and other things, policies, mobile home rent ordinances that are going to be discussed by the council all in one day, if they can get through it all. So yeah, perhaps we can think about doing that. I certainly know a few folks. I know Sean Cartwright. We are colleagues. I would know if we call ourselves friends. We were on the same class action suit against the city at one point, but I certainly get her on. I know a few other folks who'd be willing. Even Eric Shanauer, the developer representative, is a colleague. So we might be able to get a good debate going on Downballot soon.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So I'm going to point out that in 2025, out of all the counties that we cover, if you take out the California Forever insanity, I would suggest to you that San Mateo County, it was the county that had to get its shit together the most. They had the most strife, the most conflict, I think, of any county. And that they were like a dark horse, like that. We never cover shit out of San Mateo County. And just look at for the first down ballot of 2026. Look at San Mateo County again.
stepping up, all because Mark Zuckerberg got his voice plugged into a local crosswalk. But
Palo Alto is actually Santa Clara County.
Yeah, it's but adjacent, close enough, right? It's right on the border. Folks would probably, be fine with it. We include East Palo Alto. Oddly, is in San Mateo County, but Palo Alto is Santa Clara County. Interesting. And there was a nice story. Really quick shout out to East Palo Alto. 0 murders in 2025. Zero. First time in a long ass time. I was going to put that on the docket next to the Oakland story, but we just didn't have time. But I just want to give them a quick shout out. So good on you, East Palo Alto.
Oakland next year. This year 0. Fuck, we're already at 5. God damn it.
So already outdoing East Palo Alto by a shot. Anyway, we had this on Down Ballot a while back when it first happened, but we're learning more about how it happened now. But apparently those crosswalk voice activate or voice assistant things were hacked on the peninsula, and now we're finding out, and certain folks' voices were implanted on them, and we're going to find out more about how it happened from NBC Bay Area.
The videos went viral. Pedestrians at certain crosswalks on the peninsula heard fake messages from Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. We now know how the pranksters apparently hacked into the system, and it was easy. Here's NBC Bay Area's Robert Honda.
When we did the story in April, we knew what had been done with the AI voices at traffic intersections, but now we're hearing how it was done. And experts say it wasn't that hard. Wait. This is what people at crosswalks in Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and Redwood City hear when they get ready to cross the street. But last spring, about a dozen crosswalks were hacked, and pedestrians heard AI voices of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg instead.
Hi, this is Mark Zuckerberg, but real ones call me the Zuck. Hi, this is Elon Musk. Welcome to Palo Alto.
Now, information first reported by the Daily Post shows Caltrans was hacked because it never changed the passwords on the crosswalk system, even though the manufacturer advised them to do it right away. A high-tech expert at San Jose State University.
It was like the login was admin and the password was password.
Password 12345.
He can't believe that kind of mistake can be made these days.
This is not, a high-tech hacking. This is basically a hacking because somebody left the door open. That's how I look at it.
So it's not technological, it's human error.
Yeah, instead of breaking and entering, it was just entering.
Exactly. And there's a very important thing. The weakest link in any cybersecurity in the system, in any network, computer network in the world is the human.
People we talked to also said they were surprised, but had mixed reactions to the potential harm.
I think it's more of a funny prank. Now, if they told people to cross when the light was green the other direction, then I would say, well, that's a malicious prank.
So it doesn't surprise me, but it's to do it on a public utility. I think that's crossing the line a little bit there.
Palo Alto, the home of Tesla engineering.
We reached out to Caltrans and Palo Alto Utilities, but did not hear back. Caltrans and the affected cities confirmed initially that all the impacted intersections were back to normal. Professor Bonafa says, of course, hacking could still occur, but not as easily. In Palo Alto, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's incredibly stupid, just leaving the default password. But that's also, I would suggest to you, unless this is a really old system, which it might be, there are like ways in which you can force someone. Like, you can't use this actually until you create a unique username and password that follows these fucking rules.
Right. It seems like a very simple thing to have prevented and to get your shit together around. But again, I am not tech savvy, as it were. Right.
You don't have to be tech savvy. When I got my router, it didn't be like Eero router with the password. It was like, you hooked up an Ethernet cable to it or logged in via the app. And it's like, you need to set an SSID and password. And it needs to follow these rules. I'm sorry, this is like the free router they gave me with my internet.
Right. So more power to the hackers in this case. I love the guy. Like, well, maybe this isn't right to do with like public infrastructure. It's not like they changed like the signaling, sequence of the lights to turn them all green or something. Like, this is just
maybe that's a separate system. Maybe the voice system is like discrete.
Sure. This is someone having a little fun, but you leave like you said, you leave the door open. It's no longer breaking and entering. It's just entering. Like, just come on in, right?
I wish the messages would have been subversive. Hi, I'm Elon Musk, and if you're worth more than $10 million, I think you should just walk out into the street whenever you feel like it.
I think you should go ahead and walk. Have fun. It looks safe to me.
It is not the right time to walk, but you look poor to me, so just go get hit by an SUV. Right.
They didn't sound subversive at all. In fact, they sounded pretty friendly, right? Like, I think it'd be kind of cool if you had, the mayor, or well, maybe not San Jose's mayor. His voice can be kind of annoying, but you have like a public figure. You push the button. It's like, hey, thanks for using the crosswalk like a responsible human being. Just wait a second. It's still red. Wait until the green light and have a good day, right? As opposed to wait.
It's like Morgan Freeman.
Wait. Yeah, right. Hello, human. Thank you for pushing the button and crossing at the crosswalk like a responsible person. Instead of, wait.
It can't be anybody's super bassy voice because the speakers can't handle it. But yeah.
Right. But I think that'd be great. That'd be a nice touch, right? And they might listen to it.
It's all Oprah. You get a green light. You get a green light. You get a green light.
Right. I would applaud people like for actually using the crosswalk signal and using a crosswalk. There are so many folks that just walk out in front of fucking traffic between cars and jaywalk and do it with their kids. And it's like, it boggles my mind that people aren't just like 10 feet down the road is a fucking crosswalk with a light and all these things. And you're walking out in front of a bunch of cars. Like, reward people. Give them a nice pleasant message from someone they recognize, right? Meg Ryan or something coming on like, hey, thanks for crossing at the crosswalk. Okay, maybe that's a dated reference, but anyway.
We're old.
We're old here on Downballot. I just realized how old I was. I had a birthday last month, and I'm starting to round up, so it's getting real close. I'm as old as Star Wars, folks. That'll tell you a lot right there.
We went out to dinner with my parents for my birthday on Saturday, and my mom was like, oh, you got 1 year left. I was like, 1 year? What are you gonna, do you think I'm going to die or something? She's like, no, just for 50. She's like, I didn't mean that.
How old are you, Mom? Shit. Anyway.
No, I mean, to be fair, I did say on her birthday that she looked fantastic for 117 years old. So.
Well, Mom should be able to take that by that point. They've heard all the jokes by that point, and it's your mom. So
anyway, we got to move on here. We only got one story on the down ballot watch part of the docket, and it's Gavin Newsom versus Ro Khanna, a preview of a terrible fucking presidential primary.
It's not even like down ballot technically. This is like the presidential, but it has to do with
all the way
up
ballot.
Electeds. Yeah. So it has to do with local elected. So we're gonna see what's going on here.
Be a preview of the 2028 presidential primary, at least on the Democrat side. The two California Democrats are both being floated as possible presidential candidates. For more, we're joined live by Sonoma State political science professor David McEwen. David, thank you so much for being with us early this morning on New Year's Eve. Let's talk about this. I don't know if divide is really the right word here, but before we really get in the nitty gritty, is there really any history of disagreement between Khanna and Newsom prior to this?
Well, look, they're both very ambitious politicians. You have a governor who's running for president while not running for president. Ro Khanna is staking out turf that's to the left, especially in the wake of...
I'm sorry, what? I mean, to the left of Wait, what? City, for example. Just because he wants to do the billionaire tax, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the turf to the left of the Gavin Newsom is about as big as the Everglades.
And there's like fucking blades of grass between them, too. We're not talking...
Right. Progressive and not quite as progressive.
This guy isn't like seize the means of production.
The rise of the affordability issue, his prominence around the Epstein scandal and the Epstein files. Ro Khanna is certainly staking out a place where AOC and Bernie Sanders would be. They are indeed rivals. This little testy exchange gets a little bit personal between the two. But look, Gavin Newsom is also in the driver's seat for the Democratic nod. And as a result of that, he's going to get hit a lot. The California budget is not in good shape. That'll be announced next month.
Also, like that, just that image of him chumming it around with fucking Steve Bannon, probably
right on his podcast. Yeah,
not great.
The governor and his team are going to hit back hard, and it'll be interesting to see how these two populist-oriented Democratic politicians go after each other as we head to 2028.
Is there actually any conversation that would allude to Ro Khanna being part of that 2028 primary field?
All right, so it's really difficult for House members to step up and run and become the nominee to be president of the United States for the Democratic Party. Nonetheless, he can stake out territory to the left in that AOC, Bernie Sanders lane, that populist lane. He can raise money. The question is whether he can elevate his status into kind of a national primary in a place like Iowa, for example, or South Carolina and Nevada. That'll be the challenge for Ro Khanna, but he is going to give it a go, and he's going to continue to have...
I think in Iowa, the challenge for him, even among the Democrats, will be that his name is Ro Khanna.
Yeah, that's not going to be the greatest news. But at the same time, I thought the same about a guy named Barack Hussein Obama at the time.
Fair enough.
20 years
this
ago,
man, he has a lot of things, but he is not Barack Obama.
That's very true. That's very true.
So the Newsom team wants to treat him more like a fly on their sleeve that they can brush aside. But Ro Khanna is going to pitch in and try to grab that, if you will, populist left lane.
Let's talk about these accusations, dive deeper into that and what it is that Ro Khanna is actually saying. Is there actually meat to the bones of what he's accusing? I know you mentioned that the budget is not in great shape. I think most politicians would fight Newsom on that. But what Ro Khanna is deeper saying, going deeply in what he's saying, is that there's these issues of fraud and eligibility payments. Does he actually have a place and is he right with any of this?
Well, this goes back a little bit. Look, the billionaires tax that's proposed for the ballot next November, a possible ballot measure to fund a lot of healthcare services. It goes back to a period where it would attack, for example, tech zillionaires. Gavin Newsom has been part of that. He's protected those individuals. He was on the Prop 22 fight. He sided with big tech, with Uber and Lyft, and not with labor. And so there's been this uncomfortable behind the scenes element to Gavin Newsom and where he's at. He has much more of a executive mentality, a CEO mentality than a populist mentality. And so he's going to take some hits from the left on this. And this is where Ro Khanna comes in. If you look at the budget itself, we have a gap that started at 12 billion, maybe 18 billion. It might be a little bit more. It has an error rate of 50%. And people like Ro Khanna and others are going to take cheap shots and say, look, there's a lot to this budget that we're not seeing or that is subject to fraud. This also goes back to the COVID era and COVID relief dollars. And Ro Khanna's going to hit him on that. The governor's vulnerable on these elements, but a lot of this is inside baseball for Democrats and kind of slicing and dicing the Democratic electorate. Particularly the issue of healthcare will become important. And so this is where the governor has some vulnerability. And in that sense, it's a lens into what we're going to see on the Democratic side headed to 2028.
David McEwen, there's lots that we can slice up and dive into, but given time, we'll have to leave it there for now. Professor David McEwen from Sonoma State University.
I like how some of these videos, they just get cut off like a second and a half too early. I think there's like an AI doing it or something.
Gotta be. But somehow the translation to YouTube somehow. But this is a bit much ado about nothing. I mean, I think that Ro is certainly scouting out, the possibility. He's certainly tried to build a national profile for himself lately, but he's nowhere near the level of like an AOC in terms of name ID and profile. And if she decides to jump into this race, like that's going to block out the sun for a lot of the real staunch, progressives that he, lefties that he's going to want to, need to have in his side, in his camp. So I think he's sort of just staking out ground at this point and trying to see what happens. And also I think that there's a lot of progressive elements that are really trying to chip away at Gavin, because he is going to be a real prominent figure in that primary. He does have a lot of advantages and a lot of privilege heading into that race. And I think there's going to be a lot of efforts to tear him down over the next couple of years, especially after he ceases to be governor and he's just a private citizen again. I think you're going to see a lot of folks coming for him because he is one of the potential front runners. And there's quite a few folks out there that don't, really dig where he's coming from and don't want to see him as president and don't think we need another, white man from jumping into this race. And we need more, something different. Right. And
I think overall, like more like taking a step back, it's bad for California if the two leading candidates are from Silicon Valley. I think it's bad for the Democratic Party.
True, and it just reduces the lane for either of them too. At the end of the day, no matter what their politics are, and a lot of this, like the gentleman said, is inside baseball shit. That mostly it's about Democrats bitching about Democrats, and not even just Democrats, but like party folk, aware, politically woke folks, people who are engaged, right, heavily engaged, people that go to conventions, right, not the base or not the the average quote unquote voter. So this isn't going to resonate with them at all at this point. This is really just about currying favor within the party and within the party elite, and trying to cast with Rose. From Rose's position, trying to cast any doubt that they can on Gavin and try to take a little bit of the shine off of him so that others have a chance to enter this race. I don't know if Eric Swalwell will fail in his gubernatorial bid and go for president. I don't know if Mayor Ed 209 might decide to like skip the governor thing entirely and just go for broke and go for president. But there could be quite a few folks from California jumping into this race, including Kamala Harris still. Kamala,
just go write a book and fucking take the bag.
Well, she did. I mean, I actually listened to her book. It was pretty good. We listened to it on a little recent road trip, and she's starting a PAC herself to help support Democrats more broadly. I don't know where that's going to evolve into another presidential run, but there's already a field taking shape out there, and we're going to be obviously covering it here a little bit. Probably on the bigger show, you'll be covering a lot more. But it's still early, and I'll remind folks that especially in the case of like Barack Hussein Obama, who I was supporting as early as 2006, 7, early 2007 when I read his book. Even as early as now, no one had any idea who that guy was.
Somebody could come out of nowhere.
Right, and he was not considered to be a serious
not like
presidential contender.
I mean, he was a senator at that point too. Like not for nothing.
Correct.
Like running for, like the guy said, running from the House. You just don't have the kind of name recognition. It's a lower position. Also, like real quick, and I know we're up against it on time here. Why do you think Ro Khanna didn't jump in to try to get Dianne Feinstein's seat?
I don't know. Other than I can tell you that being in Congress and being a Democrat in Congress and being a Democrat in Congress from the Bay Area is a very cushy job, right? Like it's you're not likely to get knocked off unless you've overstayed your welcome, or you've just lost track,
or unless some kind of phenomenon comes along that you just
correct
ill prepared to deal with or whatever. But that's actually what elections are for, so that's fine. Right, if you just get beaten by somebody who was a better candidate that ran a better campaign, actually, there's no fucking shame in that, right?
Yeah, and that's really how Roe came to office too. Was that Mike Honda had been in office for a very long time, and had kind of lost touch with what it meant to run a really significant campaign, right, and a really serious campaign. And Roe, challenged him once and didn't win, and challenged him again and took it home. Eric Swalwell challenged Pete Stark in the East Bay, a longstanding Democrat, but who had kind of not overstayed their welcome, not so much in terms
overstayed their welcome, got complacent, didn't think anybody
correct.
They're like, well, nobody from my right's going to take this seat, and they didn't look to their left, or even like a lateral move, right, where the person wasn't more progressive than them or more conservative than them. They were just younger, better campaign, better machinery, better fundraiser, better ground game, whatever you want to say. Somebody just came in and beat them.
Correct. Just counting on the genteel nature of our local politics and party politics that no one would challenge them. So I think that Roe, might have thought about it, but maybe had his aspirations in another place, or maybe he's looking at another statewide office.
Maybe he doesn't run for president.
Else.
This is just much ado about fucking nothing.
Sure, and angling for cabinet positions too. Like those are also very very coveted positions, right? So positioning himself as Secretary of Commerce or Secretary of Transportation or whatever, what have you. There are other opportunities to build your political career beyond just elected office, but also currying favor within the party, currying favor with other candidates, and just setting yourself up for one of those big appointments. So I don't know what is necessarily in his brain. He's definitely an ambitious politician, like most politicians are ambitious, and he's certainly trying to build a bigger profile for himself nationally. But that could be for a lot of reasons, and yet to be seen. But Gavin is absolutely running for president. There's no denying that. He's running while he is still the governor, and he's governing the state a lot like he's running for president, which is has all other implications entirely too. So we'll keep covering it. We'll keep watching and see what else develops. But I'm looking forward to the horse race. This will be fun.
I just want to add real quick, like the guy said that he's a Bernie or AOC. He's a Pete Buttigieg, right? That's like the lane that he's taking. It would be maybe slightly more progressive in like messaging than Gavin Newsom on some issues, but this guy's more, and not for nothing, after the fucking, we made a lot of fun of Mayor Pete, calling him Mayo Pete, and talking shit on him for being a landlord and shit. As far as I can tell, he did a pretty good job as the fucking transportation secretary, and there's no reason for him not to run for president in 2028. And that's him and Ro Khanna are in the same lane. That's the lane he's in. He's not in. He would be in like the Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg lane, not the AOC or Bernie Sanders lane.
I think he might end up there. I think that his aspiration is to be in the AOC Bernie Sanders lane. I think that's what how he perceives himself.
Well, then he should stop going on David Sachs's podcast and glad handing with fucking David Sachs. Like
that would be a good idea. That would be a very good idea. But I think I think at the end of the day, he will end up in that kind of a lane. But I think his aspiration is to be in that far the DSA kind of a lane.
Is he a DSA member?
I don't know if that he's a member, but he certainly aligns that way, and he's curried favor with that cohort. He's one of the few who's not afraid to call.
Awful cozy with Silicon Valley money. I don't think that lane is open to him. Anyway, enough trying to fucking read the tea leaves on an election that hasn't even started yet. But I would be surprised actually if Ro Khanna tries to run for president. I would be very surprised.
Yeah, if anything, he would do it and get in and then get out just to build a bigger national profile, right, for something else that he wanted, right, just to build a name for himself, and it would be that kind of a run.
Because the other person he reminds me of a lot is kind of like Andrew Yang, and I think he would probably get fucking clobbered like Andrew Yang did.
I think even Andrew Yang understood that he had no chance in hell, right? But again, trying to build a profile and build a political future through losing, it's a very Silicon Valley thing, right? To fail up, right? Andrew
Yang parlayed that into being the most annoying podcaster on the liberal side of the podcasting space. So that's good for him.
He's probably making bank. From it too. Anyway, we've got to move on to one last thing or another thing here, and this is actually a callback that I'm sorry I was remiss and not got in the docket last week, but it's still evergreen. This is a story we covered when it happened. There was a police shooting at a local taqueria here in San Jose.
Not just a local taqueria.
La Victoria, like the local taqueria, La Vic, and situation.
I don't have a lot of love left for San Jose, but I love La Vic.
Right. Gotta love that orange sauce, especially with Iguana's closing down too. I don't know if you knew that, but Iguana's shut down and moved on. But so there's not much competition left in that little spot. But anyway, we're going to learn more about the backstory in the news hit here. But bottom line is there was a squabble. There was a knife fight at La Vic. Police were called, and one gentleman attempted to play peacemaker and wrestled weapon away from someone, and in the process the police conflated him to be part of the whole mess and ended up shooting him, and so this is the result of that police ignorance, basically.
When you encounter the police, no good deed goes unpunished.
Of course, and then we're going to find out that their bad deed is going to go punished, thankfully.
Man shot 3 years ago by San Jose police could be awarded $8 million by the city. The city attorney wrote a memo to the city council recommending they pay that $8 million settlement to Keon Green to avoid a trial that could lead to a potentially higher payout. The city attorney recommends it be approved on January 13th. That's according to the Mercury News, which first...
Oh, that doesn't look like a cop that would shoot you at all, actually.
No, definitely not. No cowboys here.
Wrestling a gun away from people inside a taqueria in 2022 when former San Jose police officer Mark McNamara shot him 4 times. The officer incorrectly assumed Green was involved in a nearby homicide. Green actually was trying to break up a fight and was backing out of the restaurant's front door holding the gun he had wrestled away from the gunman. KTVU spoke with Green's attorney about the city's proposed settlement amount.
Number is reflective of the harm Keon suffered, but also the egregiousness of this particular police officer. Keep in mind, this is an officer that not only was the only person to shoot Keon, although there were 6 other police officers standing right near him, but the fact that we uncovered that this officer has a racist streak in him, has a racist mentality, which was documented and he shared freely in text messages, not only about Keon, but also threatening to shoot myself and members of my staff.
What the fuck?
Green is currently on...
Oh, I mean, the civil judge, that guy should go to fucking jail. I don't like the prison, but that guy should go to prison.
You'd think so, right? At least he's not a cop anymore, I suppose, but...
At the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff after recovering from gunshots in his stomach, arms, and knee.
Yeah, somebody in chat's like, nah, fuck that. Take this to court. Don't accept the settlement.
I would almost argue that to go for it, right? Frankly, if the city's that scared that they're willing to pay out $8 million, that's a pretty significant chunk. You're probably liable to get a lot more in court.
And
so
it's not really about greed or whatever. Like, right? You could just ask for the $8 million, but then ask for like some like police reform that's like by court order. I don't know how all this stuff works, but as part of an agreement that there could be like some other concessions that could be like drawn out of the San Jose Police Department potentially.
For sure. It's generally called a consent decree is what you ask for, right? Which is basically the court ordering certain fundamental policy or systemic changes within a department or an organization. And you see that in a lot of these cases. That's in some cases, frankly, especially coming out of the George Floyd protests, there were some cases where folks did not necessarily get, sustain injuries of this kind of nature, right, or really significant injuries, but their main goal was to get one of a consent decree like that to get changes made, right? Because it was more of a justice and
right, because they had leverage
because
the potential payouts were so significant that they had leverage, and this guy, homeboy, has leverage right now.
Oh, completely. And this is absolutely a cowboy cop situation, right? And if they're willing to settle for $8 million, like they're pretty scared of going to court on this.
If they're willing, generally the rule of thumb is if they're willing to settle for 8, they think their exposure is double or triple that. Like if it goes to trial.
Right. And so it's like I'm kind of conflicted here, right? As a taxpayer of San Jose, like I don't necessarily want my dollars having to go to settle cases like this, but this should never happen in the first place. So I'm more than happy with
the other option is to just push for actually be like that $8 million sounds good, but here are some other things I would like to see in this agreement, actually.
Right, 100%. And to be fair, the PD has actually been tasked coming out of the Floyd protests and other things to make a lot of significant changes. So there are changes that are supposed to be being made and enacted within the PD already. I don't know if anything that would prevent something like this. Like this guy was just a choice case where he was.
This guy might have saved people's lives, right?
Correct. Yeah, and this cop is there, even after the fact, right? After he should have already realized he fucked up.
Man, I don't know, man. I fuck the police, but Jesus Christ, man, listen to your fucking lawyer, because as soon as this happened, this dude lawyered up, and you know what the lawyer said? He's like, you know, here's what you say.
Yeah, give me your text messages, right? Like, just shut the fuck up, right? Like, he obviously had major issues, and at the very least, he's no longer on the force, and hopefully, will never ever get a job as a police officer again in any situation, any municipality.
No mall cop job for this guy, dude. He was like, they said threatened the attorney. I don't know what that means. It maybe not criminally actionable because maybe it was implied or whatever, but
it is. It still is. Anything like that is, at least in civil, especially in civil court, which is what unfortunately this case is.
Oh
right?
yeah, that lawyer's going to go after. Oh, that lawyer's going to go after the cop next. He's like, oh, you threatened me for doing my job as a lawyer. Oh,
right?
Guess what? I'm a lawyer.
Because remember, this is not a criminal case. This is him suing the city, right? It's completely civil. So there are no charges against the particular cop, which is just mind-boggling, but also not terribly surprising.
Right. I mean, like, I don't. This may not have been. Where the fuck is like the criminally negligent homicide or what is there like a fucking? Well, he didn't die, but where is the like the? Must be like aggravated assault or something. Like where is the violent crime charge? Because there were a bunch of other cops there, and even. Like, because what usually happens, right, is one cop starts shooting and then the other cops start shooting, but then the other cops were like, nah.
No, this is not a good idea, bro. So, yeah,
which is
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that there weren't more consequences for this dude coming out of this other than just losing his job. So, and I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but maybe, who knows? Maybe this could influence a potential criminal case, this kind of settlement. But either way, I'm glad to see that some kind of justice, modicum of justice, is being done. Especially because it just seemed
this guy's disabled for the rest of his life. He was like a football player. Yeah, I don't know, the odds of becoming like a rich and famous football player are low, but like I could have. Getting shot that many times, I imagine that like it's going to reduce your ability to earn in every sector of our economy. So this money is just replacing potential income that this guy's going to lose out on because of like long-term pain and just fucking dramatic injuries. Like
reparations, baby, reparations. So hey, so good for him and good for his family and folks around him. But yeah, we just, shocking that not more came out of this, unfortunately. But
he'll be able to go buy a house in Willow Glen now and then complain about the fucking apartments.
This criminal element coming to my community. Anyway,
to be fair, this guy was very hands-on in trying to stop the criminal element inside of Lafayette.
Yeah, absolutely. He's he's the good Samaritan.
Again, no good deed goes unpunished. I don't know what the San Jose police procedure around like shooting somebody is. But in a society where you're allowed to have a gun, like you can't just start shooting as soon as you see one. Like you
especially when he was
assess the situation further.
Yeah, and we watched the original video, the body cam video when the story originally aired, and he's backing out, right? He's not a threat. He's got his arms up. You can clearly see the weapon. Like it's not as though he was a threat to the officers.
Right. This is where
like other than being black.
I know these situations are fucking chaotic or whatever, but this is where the hopefully not all at once, because this probably happens sometimes too, where all the cops start yelling, drop your weapon, and there's such a fucking chaotic thing or whatever. But like, aren't you just supposed to be like, because the gun's already up, right? So aren't you just, hey, you got to drop that gun, man. You got to drop that gun. Then they'd quickly figure out what happened, and he'd be like, oh man, I fucked the police, but I'm glad you're here. Jesus Christ. You should see the security footage, right?
Yeah, so basically shot for being black, and that's the real tragedy here. And
maybe if it was like
too often.
Maybe if it was like a hippie looking white guy, he would have got shot too. Like, biases and bigotries aren't just on color lines.
Maybe I don't know, but it happens all too much in this country.
If you dressed like a cholo, also got shot.
Right. And in a lot of cases, you're not going to see settlements like this, and justice is not done at all. Right. In some cases, this asshole would still be on the force if it were another city or another situation. So, hey, at least there's some progress being made here, and something got done. But
man, I hope that guy's okay. Like
long term for sure.
Like I hope he's doing better. I mean, he must be. We have a medical system.
True. So I hope he can keep playing football, honestly, and doing what he loves.
Yeah, even just like pickup games or whatever. I hope he can get back to it. Yeah, because I don't think after you get shot like that, I don't think you're very likely to be able to pick up where you left off.
There was we had that 49er wide receiver who got shot last year. He's playing again. So
fucking good for him too.
Anything's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, I got to get back to the bad baby. I know.
Yeah, you want to read the show out?
100%. Well, welcome to 2026, everybody. It's going to be another crazy year. The derp just keeps getting derpier. So we'll see you here just about every Tuesday night at 7:30 Pacific on EchoplexMedia.com and twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia. So please keep watching, keep downloading the 69th best podcast in California, according to some dude. Make sure you get your vaxes. Make sure you wear your masks. But pants are totally optional. You're going to hear some audible smoke before we head out. And I wish you a wonderful week. Peace out.
Everybody stick around for Red Light tonight. Public comment starts again next week when we have some public comment to cover.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Oh, also from Avalon of Babylon in the chat. Happy New Year, Councilman.
Oh, thank you so much, Avalon. Very good. Thanks so much for listening and watching and being there for us. Tell a friend.
All right. I'm going to change the color of the lights and change the content of my beverage, and we'll be back for Red Light.
Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'm probably doing sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.